Hey guys, welcome to another episode of El Jefe Shop. This week, I need to start again on my Corolla. So you might have noticed at the end of the last video that I was pretty disheartened with the rust that I found. That is something that I cannot fix. So I need to get it fixed. I can't leave that there. This car I want to keep forever. So I cannot leave that like it was. So after I found that rust, I had a bit of time to think about it and a bit of time to reflect. I had a chat to a mate of mine and we pretty much decided that I should get that fixed properly, like soon. So we made a phone call to a paint shop that I wanted to use originally, but they've been saying they're very busy. So we managed to squeeze in a spot. So he's gonna come and look at the car in a couple of weeks and then we'll go from there. I had a meeting with him last night just to go over how he works and how his work is done and how he charges and pays and and what he would expect from me, what I would expect from him, and what we want out of the car. So I had a good chat with him for about an hour and we did come up with a pretty good plan. So then this kind of led down the path of I'm not really happy with the work I've done previously. So I need to start again. This is basically where I'm at. All the rust repairs I've done, there's one that I'm happy with and the rest of them are kind of mediocre and I'm probably going to get him to fix them all. That's pretty hard for me to say, but I am not as good at bodywork as I would like to be, and I do really like this car. It's pretty sentimental and I do want to keep it. So this is not the car to learn how to do bodywork. This is the car to get done correctly and then learn on some cheap stuff that I don't really care about. So in saying that, he's going to come and look at it in a couple of weeks and then we'll go from there with what we're going to do metalwork wise. Whether he fixes what I've done or he can work with what I've done, or if what I've done's okay. We'll see what he thinks and then go from there. So I won't know for a while. So the plan at this stage is to just keep going on with all the mechanicals. So get the engine in, get the gearbox clearance, get the wiring done, get the diff in, get the brake lines working, get the handbrakes done, like all that stuff. So we make it run and drive as it is basically, and take it apart once it's finished and give it to the paint shop to get painted and metalworked. So in saying that, the paint guy would like it to be bare metal before I give it to him and before I even show him. So what the plan is at the moment is I'm going to strip all the parts off of it, every single nut and bolt. That's not scary, I was going to do it anyway. I just was hoping to not do it just yet. Take all the windows out, take all the bolts out, take all the rubbers off, everything. Just strip the whole thing, not a single bolt or nut on it. And then paint strip a bunch of it, because that will save me a lot of money if I do it myself. And then give it a brush back with those coral wheel things that I've got and get it all back to bare metal, or a lot of it, mostly the problem areas, so the rear quarters and the back. Get all that bare, and so you can actually see what's there, whether it's a dent or whether it's a horrible repair or if it's a crack or whatever it is, tin foil or masking tape or whatever. So get it back to bare steel, nice and clean so he can look at it. Then I've got this stuff that I just picked up this morning. It's a clear sealant that goes over the bare metal, so I'll spray that. You basically can't really stuff that up, so just spray it on, and it's just like a lacquer type stuff that covers the bare metal and stops it from rusting. Sorry, I should say it slows it from rusting. If you leave it outside, it will get rusty eventually. But it's good for like in shops and stuff, for stuff that stays in bare metal for a long time. So I'll get it down to stripped like that, and then I'd like to get it on a metal frame and like a wheelie frame like the K25's on. So I bought new casters for that. So that's probably a today project. Once it's all stripped and on the frame, I'll get the panel beater and painter guy to come and look at it, and then we'll go from there, see what he says time-wise, if he wants it for 3 weeks, in 3 weeks, or if he wants it for a month, in a year, or whatever, I don't know. We'll see how we go with that, but that's gonna be a play it by ear kind of thing, and then I'll just work around him and try and get as much mechanical stuff done as I can. So in saying that, I bought all new brake lines this morning, as in a roll of it, not braided stuff. I need to buy the braided ones, but I've got the hard line. I've got new fittings to do brake lines. I've got stuff to do the fuel line. I've got the calipers getting rebuilt. I've got discs, I've got pads. I need to get wheel bearings for the front. The rear's already done. I need to make the handbrake mounts because the handbrake cables are a bit different and just stuff like that. So I'm just gonna start underneath the car, sort of work my way up, just get as much done as I can. Get the engine in, clearance the gearbox. The paint guy's gonna probably do that because I want it to be nice. So we'll get that all sorted and then get the loom in and all that sort of stuff and start getting it actually happening. So I've been working on it a bit, obviously, but the panel stuff isn't my favorite to do. And I'm not very good at it, so it makes it a lot slower process. So if we just stick to the mechanicals and we just ignore all of the paint stuff, which is really hard to do for me because the car looks like absolute crap at the moment. But if I just ignore all of that and I just focus on the mechanical stuff, which I know how to do, we should be able to get somewhere and I should be able to be in a bit of a better mental state because it has been taking its toll having this car in many pieces. I just get overwhelmed pretty easily. So ignore the stuff that I'm not good at, do the stuff I am good at, and pay someone a lot of money to fix the stuff that I'm not good at. All right, so what I'm gonna do this episode is get the car onto a rolling frame. I've got a frame out there with wheels on it already. The wheels are quite small, and it also, the middle ones are a little bit taller, so it rocks, so you can get over bumps and stuff. That's great, it's not gonna work for what I want. So I've got 4 nice big casters here, and I'm either gonna put those on that frame that already has the wheels on it, or I'm gonna make another frame. So I don't know what material I've got. I don't know how big that frame is compared to the car. So I'm gonna measure the frame, measure the car, work out a rough plan, and try and get this thing up to a workable height and on a frame, bolted on so they can remove it. And then we will start stripping the actual body. So the glass, the trims, all that sort of stuff, and get the rest of the car stripped down. And then we can go from there. So just quickly before we get into the framework stuff, I've got these 125mm casters, swivels and brakes. I didn't really want the brakes, but that's all they had. Got a flywheel freshly machined for the 7K. We've got a bunch of fittings for the brake lines. Got a pair of VS Commodore rear brake pads that fit straight into K70 front calipers. Exactly the same. Different part number, exactly the same. Brake cleaner for brake things, obviously. We've got that sealant stuff I was talking about. So this is what it's called. It's pretty good stuff, apparently. Haven't used it yet. Pair of front brake rotors for the K70, and then a roll of wire. The calipers are getting rebuilt, and I've got the tubs just here ready to put all of the parts into the tubs. So let's get into it. Alright, so I've just ripped the cross member out of the Corolla, chucked it on the bench. So I've got this spaced up. I'm going to bolt this to the bench in just a second. Made up these plates here. They're going to bolt to where the steering arms should go, so the lower control arms. And then the plan is to go off of there with a big piece of RHS straight up on the correct angle and actually get them straight so the two sides are parallel up. And then when this is the other way around in the car, it can then mount to the frame. So the frame that I was talking about is this guy. It's put in a lot of work over the years. I didn't build it, a friend of mine built it. And yeah, it's wicked. But the wheels aren't really good enough for taking it to someone else's shop. I mean, it's good for me, but because it's got 6 wheels, it kind of fights you a bit. Whereas if it had just 4 bigger ones, it would be a bit easier. So that's the plan. It has got little bits of chain welded to it, so you can actually strap this to a trailer, which is the original plan for it. So the idea is bolt some plates on here, make a piece that comes up, weld that to that, and then tackle the back. So let's jump into this. Alright, so just finished cutting a slight angle on the ends of this, joined the bar so that it's the same, nice and parallel. So now I need to weld that to those plates that are on the crossmember and hopefully get it all nice and square, and then we can weld it to the frame. Alright, so we got half of it done. So that's where the crossmember bolts to, obviously. That's fully welded to the frame, and they're fully welded to the posts and everything. So 4 bolts, whole crossmember bolts on, and then the idea is the actual crossmember bolts are the ones you'll undo to take the car off, because they are straight up and down. These ones might be a little bit harder to actually line up, whereas the crossmember should center on the rails. And then we just need to go onto the back. So I'm going to make something for the back and then try and adapt it to the right height, because obviously I want to get the car nice and level. So that's going to be a bit tricky, but I'll show you what I've got in stock for that. Alright, so I've done some measurements and I've got these uprights. So the plan is I need 485 from the bottom of this to what will be a hole. So what I'm going to do is use this thick plate, probably 150 mil or something, and weld it on this, overlap the fairway with say 50 or 60 mil hanging out the end. And then it needs to be 485 from there to the hole. And then these will go into the leaf spring, the front leaf spring bolt, and then they will go down to the framework. So I'm not going to be able to weld these to the frame until the frame's actually under the car, which is going to make it really awkward. So that's the plan. Let's drill some holes. Alright, so I've just been having a think and I had a bit of a clean up. So now I need to get the jig under the car. As you can see, the crossmember and the rails are quite a bit different in height. So I'm going to get the car up about a foot. And then the back, obviously need to do the same. And it all needs to be pretty square because I need to be able to bolt that on nice and square. And then jig and weld the back. So I'm not sure how I can do this, but I'm going to keep thinking about it. And eventually the car will be a foot higher and the chassis jig will be underneath it. I'll let you know when I got something. Alright, I have a plan, and it's just very convenient that I have Dale's trailer here. So I'm going to steal the ramps from the trailer, run them side to side under the car, then jack them up and chock the car up that high, and then hopefully be able to slide in the framework. So it needs to go 26 centimeters up. I've got rims from the truck, like a spare set, that are 20. So then you got the 20 centimeters for them, and then I need to go 6 more. So say the ramps are about 4 or 5 centimeters. So say you got 24 centimeters with the rim, the stand, and the ramp. So I need to gain 2 or 3 centimeters at most to actually get the frame underneath. So I can do that pretty easily, I think. So I'm going to put this on time lapse and just take it real slow and real easy and make it happen. Alright, that took a fair while. We are 100 mil and a ramp higher. So probably 150 mil. So we need another at least 100, 110. I might be able to sneak some ways, but the back is the main issue. It's real sketchy. The front, you can chuck an engine crane on it. So I've got the engine crane there as safety. And then it's also really solid here. But if I put the ramp, this ramp here, at the sill on the back, it actually wants to tilt back, so it's pretty sketchy. So I'm just taking it real easy. Need to bring this up another 100 mil. Alrighty, the front is attached, so it's bolted down. It's probably flexing a little bit, which I'm not super happy about, but that's alright. The back needs to come up about 45 mil. So if I can get the back up 45 mil, then I can put those other bars that I made in there, weld them on, and then let the whole thing down on the frame. So it's a bit sketchy, and I keep kicking the dog out because I don't want him to be anywhere near this. Alright, there we go, the wagon is on the frame. I would like to reinforce the back a bit more. I'm just not super happy with it, and it's only holding on with a tiny little thread. So even if I just make another plate for the leaf spring, I think that'll be good enough. But I would probably like to do another reinforcement up the back there to the back half of the car, and that way if they cut out anything for rust repairs, the back of the car is not going to drop as well. So the last thing you might have noticed that I haven't done is the wheels. So these wheels are actually flat. I thought they had a bit of a teeter in them, but they are good. Not sure if I want to put the other wheels on it yet. So what I'm going to do is just leave it for now, move this around the shed once it's all clean and everything, and see how good or bad it is, and then whether I want to use the other casters or not. And then I'll probably make a brace off camera as well. Alright, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.